Because he only has 2 minutes on the clock as well.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be easy, but it's much better winning chances rather than if that pawn was kind of over on the right side where it's not passed yet. So there's no rival for that d pawn. Okay, Firouzja doing the right thing though. He's locked down black's pawns on this flank.
Should he also move the g pawn then? Two squares, just keep it protected?
Yes.
I would do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Kaya, that's the perfect pawn formation for white, I think. Maybe we'll see that now or in the next couple of turns for Firouzja. White's h pawn there, it's a bit lonely, so definitely give it some protection.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Wesley, he's got his pawn rolling though, his passed pawn. He wants to use that pawn as well as shelter on the 5th rank so that his king is no longer cut off, so the black king can start moving down the board.
The Bars still think this is doable for Firouzja. He only needs a draw in this game, but 10 seconds on the clock. He made his move with 12 seconds left here.
Yeah, okay, interesting move there. Actually quite a nice move, I think, from white. He's munched his king forward. He's trying to stop the advance of black's king. So black's king now a bit cut off. And, okay, if we do see a check from the black rook, which I think we most likely will, then the white king will step back happily. And, okay, now the white king will step back, and Firouzja, he's going to argue that now the black rook is no longer on the 7th rank, the 7th row. White is going to bring his rook up and start counterattacking against black's pawns, especially the black g7 pawn. That is going to be a target for the rest of this endgame. Yeah, Firouzja, he's defended well, really well so far in this position. It should be a draw with best play, most likely, but still some pitfalls to avoid. He's done that perfectly thus far.
One thing in Firouzja's advantage is the fact that black hasn't been able to mobilize his king. If he's able to just improve his king, get it to the f5 square, then I think he has very serious winning chances.
Yeah, if black can move the king closer and then give white a check, force the white king back another row. Actually, if the white king's forced back onto the 2nd row, I think black's actually going to win. But the problem is, any time you check the white king right now, it'll go back to the 4th rank. Instead, it will march forward.
And somehow it's like the consequence of those pawns there on the right side. They're very weak. Okay, but I mean, Wesley is now stepping forward with his king, and this allows white just to go with his rook to the 7th row.
Yeah, that's the only way he can try and save this game, I think.
He has to play actively. He can't just...
Process of elimination. You can't just sit still and wait for black to check you. Okay, Firouzja, he's made a huge decision now. He's just given up another pawn. He's hoping, he's arguing that if black takes this pawn with his rook, black can just take that pawn, then the white rook will sacrifice itself, take black's central pawn, and we'd see a trade of rooks, and black would be a pawn up in that endgame. But maybe it's still a draw because black's pawns are stuck. They can't move. Wow.
That's nicely calculated.
Calculating that with 10 seconds on his clock before this move. Maybe that's just a stroke of genius from Firouzja. Maybe this will secure the draw, but the courage needed there.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I've been very impressed by Firouzja's play and now impressed by his endgame resourcefulness. 16 seconds and ticking down for Wesley, so he has to take a decision. He probably is going to step back with his king, and he has.
Yeah.
Okay, but now...
I was trying to work out that...
Now you come down to the 7th row.
I was trying to work out that king and pawn endgame if black had taken that pawn with his rook, and probably it was a draw. Yeah.
I think it's a draw because of these pawns are so bad for black on the... My dad was right. This triangle formation for pawns, not very good, especially if it gets locked.
Okay, so black's going active with his king again. So white has the opportunity to go over and capture black's pawn on that g7 square, but then black's rook might go and take a pawn itself.
2 seconds.
Give a check. Okay.
Rook is ticking.
Firouzja.
Has he made a move?
Okay, is there just a bit of lag, a bit of delay maybe?
Yeah, it is a bit of lag.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's captured the pawn. Ooh.
Okay, so just some small tech things there, but it looks like he has taken that pawn.
Okay, there is some technical issues. Let's hope he's not disconnected. Alireza Firouzja. That would cause a lot of stress.
Did he play the move in time? He did.
Okay.
And okay, there were a lot of moves there. Actually, a lot of pawns disappeared, so we saw a flurry of moves. White is still a pawn down, but look, white still has this very strong h-pawn running up the board. That might act as a distraction for black's pieces. Okay, it's 2 versus 1, but those black pawns, they're disconnected. They don't help support each other running forward. I think this is a draw with best play. White's king as well can go after black's central pawn.
That's the strategy that I would immediately take. Pick up my king, move it one square, attack a pawn, and then once black king steps back to protect it, then I will start running with okay, it's on the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black is just not quick enough, not coordinated enough here. Black needs to, for example, give a check, kick that white king away, and then start pushing the black pawns forward, but too slow, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Check that black king, kick it away.
And you can even, okay, I don't think you need to worry about it. You just push your pawn.
Okay, push the pawn, simple. White's pawn is a source of counterplay.
Exactly. And here, maybe you should be a little bit careful to step forward with the king or to step backwards.
Good question. I would not even dream of stepping over to that left side of the board.
No, neither would I. I would retreat as well because the king wants to be within biting distance of those pawns, doesn't want to get cut off on the horizontal lines.
Yeah, so White's king, it doesn't look great right now, not able to move past the fourth rank, but it can, one idea at least, is to shuffle across and kick away Black's rook if it needs to. Black's rook needs to stay behind White's advanced pawn.
And what about if Alireza just goes full throttle and pushes his pawn one square forward and with an immediate threat in the position?
He might well do.
He's going to do that. The king now in check, needs to move. I would recommend stepping to the side.
Okay, which side? In front of that pawn, blockade it.
In front of that pawn.
That's what he does.
Hang on a second. Is that a mistake?
Why would that be a mistake?
I don't know. I just thought...
that seems safe to me.
Okay, that's good.
At least stopping that pawn advancing, it seems the most human touch, the most human way to do it. And now Black's king is going after White's pawn. So what White wants to achieve here is to give up his pawn, that White advanced pawn. It looks good, but you want to give it up at some point in the right way and get Black's pawn in the center in return. And that should secure the draw.
Wow.
Okay, pawn pushes forward, king steps to the side. This is actually really shrewd technique from Wesley. He is maximizing his chances. And now, where is Alireza going to move his rook with
he's losing
F6?
He's feeling stressed.
His pawn. I'm surprised by this. He's losing his pawn now, Firouzja. He's shaking his head. He's given a check. Maybe he was trying to work out something else, but his pawn has dropped, and suddenly Wesley has real winning chances.
Oh, wow.
The black king is cut off, so it's not easy, but he's 2 pawns down, and 2 pawns down in a rook endgame means it's going to be difficult. And Firouzja, I think he thinks he's losing.
But I mean, how is Black going to make progress?
Yeah, the black king is cut off. The black king cannot pass the G file right now.
Okay. He just has to wait with his rook.
Oh, Firouzja, he thinks he's lost.
Feeling the
To me,
pressure.
it's not 100% clear.
No, it's not clear.
3 seconds.
Make a move.
He made that move with 1 second. He's going to try and bring the king round to attack Black's pawn, but that looks slow. Okay, Black's king is coming. The white king, as soon as it marches forward, the black rook can actually come to the e4 square, and the black rook's going to come across now and cut off that king from marching to the right. Wesley might now win the game.
Wow. Okay, pressure is on. Alireza Firouzja, he keeps making moves with 1 second left on the clock.
Okay, yeah, Wesley, his task, his king is cut off, but the black king is just going to come march down on the H line. There we go. It's going to come as near as possible to the white rook, and then at the right moment, black will give up one of his pawns and start marching the other pawn further.
I mean, can
White
he
is
not
stuck
also
waiting.
can he not also move his rook
Yep.
to 2 squares
Actually,
to the
now
right?
that's-
Do it now, and then okay.
And this pawn is marching. Firouzja, he's lost track of this.
So close, and yet so far away.
No, he fought back from a difficult position. It was just 1 or 2 accurate moves within his grasp. It was the clock in the end. He didn't have enough time to work it out. And now the rook comes back, trying to stop Black's pawns advancing. But Black can do anything, pretty much. He can move the black rook, free up his f-pawn to start marching forward as well. Okay, he marches this one. The black rook will defend that pawn.
Yep.
There we go. And now 2 pawns are both running. White's rook is passive. White's king is too far away. This is game over.
And he resigns.
Wow, this is getting dramatic, you guys. Wesley, so a huge comeback, 2 wins in a row to take it to tie breaks.